How's it going, Diablo friends? So, I just figured out that most of you are probably right now not pushing Nightmare Dungeons, but farming the overworld to get those Shakos and Grandfathers and all those other uber unique items you might need. And since this is the same I'm doing right now, I decided to share this with you as my next build guide. In this guide we are doing something a little bit different. The very first section of the guide you can find in the description down below is going to be my general hints on how to farm Helltides and Grim Favors most efficiently without having to spend your day doing stupid farming you don't even want to do. This build is going to be amazing for farming Helltides. You're going to have incredible movement speed and incredible kill speed. It's also very great to farm Helltide events, like for example the Waves of Darkness events, which is the most rewarding Helltide event. You can get up to like 22 waves solo out of it. And it's also great to farm Blood Harvest, which is a major source of Varshan summoning materials. These Blood Harvests pop up every hour, and you take about 2 to 3 minutes with this build to farm 11 Grim Favors. In general, there's two things you can do with this build. First of it is going to be Helltide event farming. So whenever you encounter a Helltide event, you want to get the most value out of it. And to get the most out of it, we are using our Spark Unstable Currents combination combined with maximum cooldown reduction and the Hectic Vampiric Power plus the Anticipation Vampiric Power to get our cooldown on Unstable Currents down to about 30 seconds. And this helps us during Helltide's events. We can just stand in the middle of the event and just do basic attacks, and we're going to have 100% uptime on Unstable Currents. And as you see in the footage in the background, we can pretty much kill all mobs right when they spawn, no matter where they are. Look at those poor little ball lightning sources running around and trying to kill the mobs. So you can see the ball lightning source literally can't do anything, and we are just standing in the middle and picking everything up like almost instantaneously, and that allows us to get many more waves and resulting in that many more cinders out of this event, like with a traditional build which is not especially tailored for overworld farming. And the second we can do with this build is general overworld farming. So whenever we run around in a Helltide without doing events, or if we are going to do those Blood Harvest Grim Favor farming, which is like very time efficient, we can run around and just plant our Hydras, and they gonna blow everything up almost instantaneously, and we don't even have to look there or go there. We don't really have to do anything, our conjurations will do the job, and that just gives us incredible kill speed because we don't need to aim, the conjurations are going to do that by themselves. We don't need to walk over to the mobs, we just plant a Hydra at max range, and our chain reaction from the X-Falls, the Firebolt enchantment and the Fireball enchantment will pretty much one-hit everything. So if you see in the footage in the background, we are doing an entire Blood Harvest event, which gives 11 Grim Favors, and that takes us less than 2 minutes. So there's really no faster and more efficient way you can farm Grim Favors. And the great thing on farming those Blood Harvest events is they're going to pop up exactly every full hour. So if you, for example, are working on your PC or walking around the house, you can just put a timer like every 2 hours. So you like put it at 55, then you spend the last 5 minutes finishing the Blood Harvest, then the next Blood Harvest immediately spawns and you finish that right away as well. So within like less than 10 minutes you get like 22 Grim Favors, without actually having to do an awful lot of work for that. Okay, that was just a quick explanation what we do with this build. As I already said, you can find all the links to the sections of this guide in the description down below. You will also find the link to the planner. At the end of the video, I'm going to show you some more longer farming videos. And next we get into the section on how to farm those specific activities the most efficient way. And let's start with farming Helltides most efficiently. I'm not going to explain in detail how Helltides work. Basically, all you need to know is there's Tortured Gifts of Living Steel. You can find those, for example, on Maxroll on the map. And the Tortured Gifts of Living Steel are going to spawn every full hour. So to farm a Helltide most efficiently, you just want to farm enough cinders to open all Tortured Gifts of Living Steel. And that's going to be about it. You can farm the other gifts, but they only give 1 living steel and you don't have the chance for extra living steels to drop. So I would just focus on farming the big chests here. So in general, what I do for Helltide is I do walk some kind of a round on the map which will guide me to all of the events. And then after I reach the last event, I port to town, then go to some stuff in my stash, salvage some items, and go back to the Helltide after let's say 2 minutes to give mobs and events the time to respawn. And then I just start over farming the same round once again. And then whenever you reach an event, there's certain events you want to play and certain events you want to skip. There's only 5 events you want to play, you want to skip everything else. And the 5 events you want to play are the Jar of Souls, Wayward Soul, Insatiable Hunger, Waves of Darkness, and Ancient Siphon. The first 4 events I named you want to play because after you kill a wave of these events, they immediately going to spawn the next wave. So you can get the most cinders out of these. And the last event you just want to play because it ends within 10 seconds. All other events, skip them. Don't do them, skip it. It's not even going to be remotely worth the time you spend doing them. If you play the Helltides this way, it should take you around 6 to 8 minutes for every 300 cinders. I know there's going to be content creators clickbaiting you, and they will be saying how to farm Helltides best and how to get 1000 cinders within 20 minutes, and then they're going to show you a clip where they did 6 waves of darkness events within 10 minutes, and they just tell you just want to go from event to event and don't kill any mobs whatsoever. Please just don't believe that. It's just clickbait. The chances finding many waves of darkness events are pretty low, so you really don't want to do that. You really want to naturally go through the Helltides, take the events as they go, and then after that reset the map and start over. This is going to get you the most consistent amount of cinders in the least amount of time. Grim Favor farming is going to give you the summoning materials for Varshan, and I want to divide these activities into a priority system so you know what is the most time efficient activity to do. But one thing I want to say first, whenever you turn in your Grim Favors and you can get a greater gift, so that's the orange ones, always take the greater gift. The greater gift is always going to contain 2 Varshan summoning material, while the regular gifts can contain 1 or 2 of them. Highest priority is always a world boss with or without a whisper. Second highest priority is PvP whispers. Third highest priority is Blood Harvest whispers. Fourth highest priority is dungeon whispers, which can be completed fast, so fast dungeons, not horrible dungeons. And the lowest priority whispers is all the other whispers, like kill this boss, or kill 50 bandits, or collect 100 of these, and so on. Alright, world bosses and why they are so important. You should do all world bosses no matter if they have a whisper or not. So why is that? Whenever a player completes a whisper, there's a chance from, I would assume it's somewhere between 10 and 20% to spawn one of those malignant monsters, which is going to drop the extra Varshan summoning materials. So just because you don't have a whisper on this world boss, that doesn't mean other players don't have a whisper on this world boss. So if you see in the footage in the background, I didn't have a whisper on this world boss, but it still spawned 3 extra mobs, giving me 6 additional Varshan summoning materials. So whenever you're doing a world boss, there's going to be up to 12 players participating, so chances are high a lot of those are going to have a whisper for this world boss, and that gives you an incredible chance of spawning those extra mobs, obtaining those extra summoning materials. And that makes world bosses the most time efficient way to farm Varshan summoning materials. PvP whispers. So I don't know when these pop up. It seems like they pop up every 2 days or something like that. I don't know for sure. Maybe you know, so you can let me know in the comments down below. Anyway, so these PvP whispers, they always do spawn for every PvP zone, and then a whisper spawns to kill the PvP zone boss. And you just go there, kill the boss, complete a ritual, and that is 8 Grim Favors within well, let's say a minute or 2 minutes. So that is very, very time efficient to farm those Grim Favors. Nothing more really to say about this one. Just go there, kill the boss, do the event, you're done. Blood Harvest Whispers are a little bit different because Blood Harvest Whispers are not always the same. So there is generally like different types. First of all, there is the Whisper where you have to rescue like those people, and the other Whisper is where you have to destroy those structures. Whenever you have to rescue those people, please don't hunt those people. If you can find like those cages very fast and you can finish the Whisper very fast, that's okay. Don't run around search for those because these are really scattered and it's really hard to find them. On the other hand, destroying the structures is actually pretty easy because these always spawn at like a fixed location and there's plenty of them and they respawn within like 20 seconds or so. So you just have to go to the specific location and just kill them, and it only takes like a couple of seconds to do that. Then for the other Whisper where you have to either slay the vampire or the 150 of those ghouls, the easiest way is just find a blood siphon. Quick note here, with the Unstable Currents build, casting a lightning spear during unstable currents actually counts as using a cooldown. And that is going to trigger our protection passive, which allows us to stay alive during those blood siphons for a very long time, because we just have to use unstable currents and it's going to give us a permanent barrier, pretty much refreshing every second. During the blood siphon there's going to be a lot of mob spawning, and normally it's going to be enough to finish the Whisper where you have to kill the vampires or the 150 ghouls. The 25 vampire ones are actually pretty easy, you will pick them up like as you walk around. And the last one, which requires you to kill the Bloodseekers, well, that's the easiest one. Just summon the Bloodseekers and kill them, and you're done. So whenever you have those events and you have to destroy the structures, it will only take you like 2 to 3 minutes to do that, like we already saw in the introduction. When you have to find the villagers and rescue them, don't sweat it. Just take the 8 Grim Favors from the other ones and don't rescue those villagers at all. Just move on to do something else. It's really not worth searching for those. For dungeon whispers, if you're running nightmare dungeons anyway, you can always take them as you go. If you're not running nightmare dungeons, there are certain dungeons which clear very fast. You should know by now which dungeons go fast and which not. And they usually take you about like 2 minutes, including the travel time to go there. The longer dungeons will take between like 3 and 4 minutes, so those are really not worth it. But if you're really deep into farming those whispers, you probably can still do the dungeons without wasting too much of your time. So just do the dungeons when they pop up, unless they are like terrible dungeons. They give 5 Grim Favors each, so it's not too terrible at all, but in my priority list here of being time efficient, I put them at position 4. Last on my priority list are all remaining whispers, so that's pretty much all whispers in the overworld, like kill 50 bandits, kill this boss, finish this event, and also the Legion events. These are the lowest on my priority list, so unless you really don't have anything else to do and you already completed all the other whispers, don't do these. If you run by like a boss and you immediately find the summoning altar, well, you know, just do it. Or if you like encounter an event and you immediately can finish it in like 20 seconds, you can do it. Or obviously, if these events are within Blood Harvests or are within Helltides, you can obviously complete these. This is going to be a great addition to your overall farming routine. But don't go out there to just complete these whispers. It's not going to be worth your time. They are lowest priority, so there's better things you can do with your time. And that pretty much completes the list of the whispers and the priority system. Again, I just want to give this as a general guide on how to farm those materials the fastest way. And now, as we are done with it, let's go into this Sorceress Hydra Overworld Farming Guide now. For the skill tree, we put 1 point into Firebolt just to use the Firebolt enchantment, and then we put 1 point into Spark, 1 point into Enhanced Spark, and 1 point into Glinting Spark. This gives us some extra critical strike chance. Then we max out Fireball with Enhanced Fireball and Greater Fireball. Because we're using the Fireball enchantment, it helps to max this out. And since we are playing an overworld build, we don't really need the points anywhere else here. Then we put 1 point into Flame Shield and 1 point into Enhanced Flame Shield just for the extra movement speed. 1 point into Teleport, 3 points into Glass Cannon, 1 point into Elemental Attunement. Then we max out Hydra with Enhanced Hydra and Invoked Hydra. We max out Lightning Spear with Enhanced Lightning Spear and Invoked Lightning Spear. Then we get 3 into Conjuration Mastery. I have +3 on my amulet. You absolutely don't need this. It's completely optional. You don't need very high damage in the overworld. This helps a little bit, but you don't need it. 3 points will be enough if you have them. Then we put 3 points into Precision Magic, 1 point into Align the Elements, 3 points into Protection. Note, we are not putting any points into Mana Shield here, since this build doesn't spend a lot of mana, so we probably will not have this active more than probably like 10% of the time. Then 1 point into Devouring Blaze here, just for the synergies. 4 points into Ball Lightning, 1 point into Enhanced Ball Lightning, just for some extra boss damage. We still make usage of Ball Lightning during Unstable Currents. Then 1 point into Unstable Currents, 1 point into Prime Unstable Currents for the attack speed, 1 point into Causing Currents, 3 points into Conduction for the movement speed, and as our ultimate passive we take Asus Ferocity. We take Asus Ferocity because currently this is bugged and the damage bonus counts for all skills. And also Verse Mastery is bugged and the damage bonus doesn't work. So when Asus Ferocity gets fixed, basically we just switch over to Verse Mastery and it's gonna be exactly the same amount of damage. For our skills we use Unstable Currents as our ultimate. We use this to spawn a lot of lightning spares and have infinite uptime on it during Helltide events, and we already explained this before. Lightning spare just for some extra conjuration damage, teleport to get around faster, and flame shield for the 25% movement speed mainly. Spark is our main applicator, so this is our basic skill with a very high attack speed, and this helps us to reduce our cooldowns through using the hectic vampiric power. And together with Unstable Currents, we have a very high attack speed and can spawn a lot of lightning spares. Then Hydra is our main damage spell. We buff a lot of fire damage in Paragon Board too. This is enough to pretty much take everything out. And then together with the Fire Bolt enchantment and the Fireball enchantment, well, it basically works like this. Hydra hits stuff, it's going to get burning. Whenever it dies, it's gonna do a fireball. The fireball then hits all enemies again and makes them burning with the Firebolt enchantment, which then triggers the X-Faults again, and you know, it's kind of a round robin of those. So either one is gonna apply Firebolt, and Firebolt is doing X-Faults, and so on and so on. So for legendary aspects, again, this is an overworld farming build, so you don't want to go crazy on following the legendary aspects. For this build, there's pretty much just 2 mandatory legendary aspects you can slot into any build. The first one is going to be the rapid aspect here. It gives you attack speed bonus for basic skills, though this one is a really nice aspect because the basic skill attack speed can stack on top of your already maxed regular attack speed. And the second one is the Serpentine aspect. This gives you an additional Hydra. This is pretty much a no-brainer. Don't really need to talk about this. And then there's obviously the X-Force Corroded Signet and the Tarashas are mandatory here. Tarashas isn't even mandatory, but you're gonna have it anyway. We use these 2 rings for the damage and for the cooldown reduction mainly. And then you wanna have Asus Boots. Everything else, like the aspects, the defensive aspects here on your helm and on your armor, doesn't matter at all. Your pants, you can use T-balls, you can use any defensive pants, it doesn't matter, you can use whatever you want, it doesn't matter for this build. You can also use Rainment, it doesn't matter for this build either. On my amulet, I have the Bounding Conduit aspect imprinted, so I get a little bit more movement speed after teleporting. You can pretty much have a damage aspect on here if you want. I just have this aspect on here because I don't need the damage and it gives me some extra mobility. But besides that, you can pretty much play around with this. On your weapon, you're pretty much gonna have an damaging aspect anyway. Here I have the conceded aspect because we are not using vulnerable in this build. I have conceded. But if you have like Stormswell on it, you're gonna get away with not having the 30% extra damage here. Again, this is an overworld farming build. Don't go too crazy. Just take the recommend aspects here, which I have the rapid aspect and the serpentine aspect. Everything else completely optional. Play as ever you like. For the item and stat priorities, it's pretty much the same than for the legendary aspects. We don't really have any preferences. You just want to augment your build by swapping in as least items as possible. And for this, I recommend to swap in your focus with the rapid aspect and basic skill attack speed plus cooldown reduction on it. The rest stats are irrelevant. Then swap in an amulet with movement speed and movement speeds after killing an elite. The rest of the stats is pretty much irrelevant. if it's Conjuration Mastery or Devouring Blaze or Conjuration skills, Mastery skills, it doesn't really matter. You're gonna have enough damage. And the third item you can swap in is a helmet with basic skill attack speed. This is not even required. You will get... You can definitely skip the 15% on the helmet and it will work with your other helmet you are playing. You can also play like Godslayer's Crown if you want. Like, it doesn't really matter. The most important here is really the focus with the basic skill attack speed and the rapid aspect. All other stats are pretty much irrelevant. Defensive stats don't matter. On your gloves, I have attack speed, critical strike chance, lucky hit chance, and intelligence. This is the best gloves for this build. But if you have other gloves with, like, whatever, ranks of Chain Lightning, which you are playing for your regular build, it doesn't matter at all. But since I have the Serpentine aspect on these gloves, I can swap them in. And Intelligence is a nice stat for this build, because I don't need any other stats, and this pretty much gives me additional damage. For all the other items, this is nothing special, like all stats and main stat on your weapon, everything else, again, pretty irrelevant. I have Sapphires in here because I don't play Vulnerable, so this is like, well, it's like 24% additional critical strike damage to crowd control, so this is as irrelevant as it could get. Just try to get cooldown reduction on all your gear pieces, like the 2 rings have cooldown reduction anyway. Try to get cooldown reduction on your amulet, try to get cooldown reduction on your helmet, get cooldown reduction on your focus, and you're good to go for this build. All the other items do not matter here at all. For the Vampiric Powers, I use Ravenous for the extra attack speed. I use Anticipation for additional cooldown reduction on my ultimate. And then I use the Hectic Vampiric Power to reduce my cooldown even further together with our basic skill attacks. Then the other 2 ones are pretty much optional. You can choose whatever you like. You can choose Hemo, for example, if you like to play that more. You can also like do Vulnerable if you want. But I used Moonrise because I don't use elixirs in the overworld, so this pretty much can max out my attack speed and also gets a nice 15% movement speed bonus, comes in very handy. And then I used the Coven's Fangs just for some extra conjuration damage, so basically when a lightning spear stuns an enemy and a Hydra shoots it after that, it's just going to be like massive damage boost for the conjurations. Also, you don't really need this, like you can pretty much choose whatever 2 Vampiric Powers you like for the slots. I just recommend using these 2, but play whatever you like. These 3 here are mandatory for this build. These 2 here are completely optional. For a Paragon board, you don't really need to tailor a specific Paragon board for this build. As I say, if you're just using this for overworld farming, you can take whatever Paragon board you like. You just need to like swap like 1 or 2 glyphs. This Paragon board is just an example for pretty much doing the maximum damage with fire spells. So we pick up the non-physical damage nodes and put in the Elementalist glyph for some extra damage increase. In this build we are not even running Frost, but it's still 10%, which is still pretty good. Then we move over to the Elemental Summoner board. We take the Elemental Summoner board for some extra conjuration damage. The cooldown doesn't really matter. Then we pick up the non-physical damage nodes here, pick up the conjuration skill damage, pick up the ore resistance, and put in our Conjurer glyph. We mainly use this for the 20% increased duration, but the additive damage is also pretty nice. Then let's move over to the next board. That's going to be the Enchantment Master. We again take the non-physical damage and the ore resistance, slot in the Tactician glyph for another 10% damage after casting defensive skills, and also how to boost our rare nodes here. Then again, pick up all the non-physical damage, and let's move over to the next board. That is going to be the Burning Instinct. For the Burning Instinct, we just use the rare nodes here for burning synergy, and we put in the Destruction glyph for a massive critical strike damage increase. And let's move over to the next board. That's going to be the Ceaseless Conduit board. We just use this for the glyph slot, and we put in the Enchanter glyph with 65 intelligence. This gives us non-physical damage, which boosts our conjurations. These nodes here don't really matter. We just take them for the intelligence bonus. And you want to pick up the Hunter Killer node and these 2 movement speed nodes here. Movement speed after killing an elite is really nice for the overworld, since you are pretty much just planting your Hydras everywhere. This is going to be active whenever your Hydras kill an elite, and that is pretty much going to be all the time. Then Let's move over to the next board. That is going to be the Searing Heat board. We pick up the legendary note here for some extra damage on our Hydras. Then we put in the Flame Feeder glyph here for more additive damage and another 10% increased direct damage. Then we take out these nodes here and we take the fire damage and critical strike damage nodes here in the middle. And that is pretty much going to be it for the Paragon board. So again, you don't need to tailor a specific Paragon board. It's okay if you just take like Hunter Killer nodes or whatever nodes which are giving you movement speed bonus. And then the only glyph you really want to do is the Conjurer glyph. This is important because you want the 20% increased duration on your conjurations. Everything else, pretty much just take the board which does most damage. Like, you're not gonna have a damage problem in the overworld anyway. So if you want to play this on the Eternal Realm, you just replace the Ravenous Vampiric Power with the Aspect of Ancient Flame. So this is giving you a 50% permanent attack speed bonus. Besides that, well, you're gonna lose some value. You're not gonna have Anticipation, so your ultimate cooldown is going to be longer. You're not gonna have Hectic, so you are gonna get a little bit less value out of the Helltide events. Most of the time, if you're running through the overworld, you don't need your ultimate anyway, so then Hectic is not a huge loss. It's really just when it comes down to the events that you get a little bit of less value. Your Hydras and Lightning Spears are still gonna do major damage and they are still gonna kill stuff very quickly. You're just gonna miss like the huge value of the 10 to 15 Lightning Spears like roaming around all the time. And the other ones, well, Moonrise, it's just some attack speed and some movement speed, so it's not really important. The damage doesn't matter here. And same goes for Corvin's Fang. This is pretty much optional. You're gonna do a little bit more damage in a conditional case on some enemies with conjurations, but also this is not going to be a huge loss. So really, just switch in Aspect of Ancient Flame for Ravenous and you're good to go on Eternal Realm. Period. Alright, there you have it. That's my overworld farming guide and my general tips on farming the overworld. I hope you liked the video and I will now put some 15 minutes of Helltide farming footage now. I'm gonna put it at double speed and just slow it down when the events are running so you don't have to watch the whole 15 minutes. And I hope you enjoyed the video and thank you so much for watching and I'll see you guys next time.
these wood flow